Welcome in 6:30, March 16th. It's the last Friday of Q1 of 2021. Can you believe it? We got through winter. Happy spring, everybody. We'll start off with just a quick vaccine news that was presented to us last Friday at Governor Scott's press conference. So anyone older at the age of 60 and older can register for the vaccine. 50 plus starts Monday, 40 plus starts April 5th, 30 plus April 12th, and then ages 16 and plus open registration is April 19th, with the goal in mind that all Vermonters can be fully vaccinated by July of 2021. So that's pretty excited. Any further information about how to sign up, contact Health and Safety. We can help you provide the information. But the Health Vermont website is a really handy trick and tool for this. Where we currently are with the vaccine rollout, we've about 33.8% of Vermonters have at least had the first dose. So we are on our way with a goal to get close to 100% by July. So that's pretty exciting times, and hopefully it continues to go well. We're seeing a little bit of a gradual increase with some active cases in our region. Again, the hospitalizations are staying down, but we were at 1.3 this time last week, now 1.6. A lot of that has to do with just, we're doing a lot of robust testing, which is great, so we can kind of stop the spread. So that's what we have. Again, it's mostly in Chittenden County. We're seeing a little bit down here in Middlebury. You're kind of seeing it where the kind of colleges are and also the correction facilities. So that's what we have for an update on coronavirus, and we'll get into the code item of the week before we bring on our guest speaker today. Maintain confidentiality of insider information learned about ECI and about our client. So let's remember that discretion part of last week's code of conduct is to let's make sure that the audience is correct and we make sure that we are doing our best to represent ECI the best way that we possibly can. So entering Q2 next week, hopefully let's just continue to work safe because we did another 7 days without a recordable injury. The count is up to 113 days. So keep up the good work, continue with that good daily job briefing in the morning, communicating those hazards, how we're going to control our workplace hazards each and every day. Again, Health and Safety is here for any questions or any issues that you might have regarding any job site hazards, how to control them. Just give us a call and we'll walk you through that process, along with any additional safety training, on-site training that you think you guys might need if it's fall protection or excavation. Just a quick little awareness training or toolbox talk on the job. We're here to assist in those ways as well. I'm excited to bring in Amy again for our normal wellness series. We're going to kind of talk about injury prevention a lot when it comes to kind of soft tissue things and some of the recordable injuries that we're seeing in the last 2 years. We're going to kind of talk about those here today and how to prevent them, and then how those unsafe behaviors result in soft tissue injuries. So Amy, I just gave you control. Hopefully you can see it.
Excellent. Good morning. And let me play this. All right. So we're going to talk about injury prevention this morning, and specifically the lower extremity. So precaution is better than a cure. We all know in your fields, we measure twice, cut once. This is the planning ahead approach. So to do this from an injury standpoint, we're going to reduce our risk of injury on the job by determining what our high risk injuries are and changing how we approach them. So what do you guys do during the day that increases your risk of a lower extremity injury in your legs? What we're seeing in the clinic kind of comes down to one big thing. It's jumping in and out of things. So jumping out of your truck, jumping out of heavy equipment into trenches, off of platforms. This is when we tend to see those lower extremity injuries coming into the clinic. So why? What's the problem with jumping? Why is this leading to injury? And I'll kind of give you the whys today. So here's what it looks like when you're jumping. We actually have a lot of research on jumping because a lot of our athletes do a lot of jumping and a lot of our athletes get hurt jumping. So we take force plate measurements. So we have plates on the ground that measure the force. We put stickers all over people's bodies, and then we get this representation of what it looks like when someone jumps. And we can get the forces at our ankles, our knees, our hips, our muscles by doing this. So what are the forces at your knees during all these regular activities and exercises, and how do they compare? So with walking, we have 2 to 3 times our body weight on our knees. With jogging, that increases to 4 times our body weight. And with jumping, that's 7 to 8 times our body weight. So every time you jump down, you're getting 7 to 8 times your body weight. When you're walking, it's 2 to 3 times. That's a pretty big difference between something we do all the time, jogging, something we do maybe a couple times a week if we're lucky, and jumping, something we might do occasionally. So what happens when we land and we look like this? So that initial picture I showed you with the force plates, that person was in great alignment. And in this middle picture, this person's landing with normal alignment. So that is good. That's when you're getting that 7 to 8 times of force through your knees. But what happens when you land with your knees pointing in towards each other, or your knees pointing out at each other? And this is just looking at the knees. We're not even talking about what happens when your ankle rolls in or out, and whether you can catch that or not. So really what it comes down to, it's a bit risky, because you're putting 8 times the force on your knees when you jump, and that's jumping in good alignment. Jumping itself increases the force, which generally increases your risk. Jumping out of perfect alignment increases the force, which is overloading parts of your joints, parts of your tendons, parts of your ligaments. So in that way, it's going to increase your risk of injury. And then most of you guys are not working on something even ground all the time. You guys are working on dirt, areas that are being excavated. So you're jumping onto uneven ground. So when you do this, you have these unexpected forces placed on your body where you might slip. The ground might fall out from beneath you a little bit. And you have all these extra movements and extra forces that are put on your body. So if you're doing this irregularly, it's kind of a high risk. If you think of basketball players, we've got March Madness going on right now. These guys practice for hours a day to jump and jump and jump and jump. And if you've noticed, they still get hurt, and they're training for this. When you're just doing this once or twice here and there, your risk is pretty high. So here's an example. If you have a 200-pound guy jumping out of a piece of heavy equipment onto the ground, what are the forces on your body? So 200-pound guy here, 1,400 to 1,600 pounds of pressure are placed on the knee when he does this. 1,800 to 2,000 pounds of pressure are placed on the ankles, and 500 to 600 pounds of pressure are placed on the hips. That's one jump out of a say truck or into a trench. So that's quite a bit of force you're putting on your body. So what we're seeing when this happens are these work-related injuries. In the knee, we often see meniscus tears. That's a big one because if that knee rotates at all, the meniscus does not take rotational forces very well, and it tends to tear. That's when you feel that swelling in your knee, the buckling in your knee. It's hard to put weight on it. Joint injuries, the cartilage could tear inside, or muscle strains. If, say, you land too deeply, you tend to hurt a muscle. At the ankle, we often see ankle sprains, and occasionally we'll see ankle and foot fractures. So these are things you don't want to see because this takes you out of work. We're just starting the spring season. You guys are just getting back into the swing of things. The last thing you want is to have an injury and either end up in PT or the doctor's office and time off from work, or what often tends to happen is you ignore it for a bit because you want to work, and then you end up the whole season with this nagging injury that never goes away. So neither of those cases are good. So what it really comes back down to is precaution is better than a cure. Is your body prepared for this force? Unless you're training like the guys that are playing in March Madness right now, probably not. Is it worth the risk of injury to you? Again, taking you out of work or having a nagging pain all season, that's potentially going to decrease your ability to work as hard as you want, decrease your ability to do all the fun activities you do on your time off. Again, probably not. So really what it comes down to is that measure twice, cut once. Think about how you're moving and why you're doing it. If you're getting out of a truck, take that extra step or two to get out. If you're getting down into a trench, do you have the right tools to get you down there safely instead of jumping down into that trench? If you're on a piece of equipment, again, take those steps off of that. Just think before you do something. All of us know this. A lot of us have to be reminded, including myself, to do that when we're at work, when we're doing things that we enjoy, so we decrease that risk of injury. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Very well done. Well said. We normally see about maybe 3 to 5 these types of incidents each and every year. So it really, if we can eliminate these unsafe behaviors with jumping and utilizing ladders, utilizing an earthen ramp, utilizing all of our 3 points of contact, we can reduce these types of injuries. So thank you for the time, and you explained it really well with the forces on our joints when we do these types of, when we act this type of way by jumping on our sites.
Thank you. Yeah, we all know we're supposed to do that, but sometimes knowing the why in the back of our head can be really helpful to remind ourselves, like, oh yeah, I shouldn't jump out of that vehicle or into that trench. So thank you.
Yeah, and we can hopefully build a culture where we always remind each other, hey, that's 7 times your body weight to your ankle, to your knees. Every time you do that, I'm just looking out for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Ken, I kick it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Show my screen, and I'm going to turn it to the email of the week. Can you see it?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So for announcements this week, we obviously started at 6:30. Hopefully you're not just tuning in. And we'll be doing that until probably the beginning of next year. So got the season ahead of us here. We're ready to go into full gear, full speed ahead. For weather outlook, we've got some yellow zone here for flood watch. There's a flood watch in effect for the northern Adirondacks and much of central and northern Vermont Friday. So I think it's like 0.8 of an inch of rain or maybe more in some places. So if you're working in a low lying area that would be flood prone, then we need to be ready for this, the water coming up in the rivers or lakes or streams and stuff. So be prepared, and it's going to be a wet day out there too. It's also going to be cold again starting Sunday night. So make sure that that all the pumps and everything are secured and winterized. So we got the ECI COVID policies here, just a click away. And for the project this week, we're highlighting the Spalding Educational Alternative Building in Barrie, Vermont. So we're subcontracted with Peak CM for the concrete work for this new building to serve special needs students in the Barrie Unified Union School District. So ECI scope of work is for structural concrete, exterior equipment pads, and sidewalk. The 125-foot long by 80-foot wide building footprint, which is 10,000 square feet, includes 550 linear feet of 2-foot by 12-inch footings. There's also several sections of wall. There's some 6'6" by 10. There's 5'6" by 10, and then there's some 5-foot by 8-inch thick entry walls. There's several, but not too many, interior 6-foot columns. There's also the slab, which was 2 different, I think 2 pours, but 2 different sections as well. 7,188 square feet of 4-inch slab. They had number 4 reinforcing 18 inches each way. And then the other slab was a 6-inch slab that was 2,812 square feet with a mat of number 5 reinforcing 12 inches on center each way for the mechanic shop. And all slabs were poured on top of insulation and 10 mil vapor barrier. All joints had dowel baskets. All control joints had dowel baskets at 18 inches on center. Construction joints had diamond dowels with every 12 inches on center. And the total yardage for this project is 340 cubic yards and 12.6 tons of black reinforcing steel. So a pretty straightforward rectangular building. As you can see there, there's some footing work going on early in the season, in the fall. And then footings were mostly complete, I believe, at the end of the year in the fall. And then the slab work was just completed this week. Interior slab, the building is up, the building frame is up around the interior to protect the slab for final work, or at least the final building structural work. Nice looking slabs, quite a good sized area. There we are. Looking really good. So that's what I got. And then the photo archives. So you got the Charlotte Middle School, just reminiscent of another school project we did back in 2010. So great job by the concrete guys. It's looking great. And I'll turn this back over to Matt, and everyone have a good, safe day out there, and be aware of the soft tissue injury potentials.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you for the 58 people that joined us today. If you know anyone that missed it, we'll send out an email to watch it at a later date. This was an important topic for injury prevention, to continue that we work safe and sound each and every day. So be safe today, and health and safety is here for any of your questions or concerns that you have safety related. Thank you.
Okay, see you later.